Hello and welcome to Carefree Blues, a podcast and supplement to my weekly column as part of the Soccer Yanks podcast network. I'm your co-host Kyle.
I'm your co-host Amadi.
And we are here to bring you episode 5 of the Carefree Blues podcast. Coming off a questionable draw against Manchester United, which we'll get to, and the Shrewsbury Town victory today in the Capital One Cup. We'll go ahead and we will just start off with the Manchester United game. Starting lineup, straightforward. Schürrle hasn't been playing, so Willian took his spot out on the right. Remy and Costa were not available for the game, so Drogba played up front. And as Piliqueta was suspended, so Luiz took his spot on left back. And we had some youngsters, good bit of youngsters on the bench actually. Cech, Zuma, Ake, Obi Mikel, Salah, Schürrle, and Baker. Just any brief thoughts you have on the lineup, Amadi?
I don't know, during the week we heard a lot of speculation about whether Costa would be fit, whether Remy would be fit. And, during the week I think even Mourinho was trying to play some mind games by saying that Costa would likely make it and he'd be fit to play. And then in the morning of the game I read all these insider tweets saying Costa didn't get on the bus and that I guess Brown had taken his place. But I like the fact that people were worried about it, and Manchester obviously were worried about it because Costa's, he's a formidable forward, and I think that he made the right choice playing Willian in games like this, and I guess against bigger opponents I do prefer him, but I guess he figured we needed the defensive stability. Against City, I think Schürrle got the start, so I guess that says something about how he feels about Manchester's attacking ability, or United's rather attacking ability.
Yeah, and I would agree with the Willian point. Schürrle did start the game against City because he had just a not very good performance against City, and Willian he was able to come off the bench somewhere around the 70th minute. I think it was 77th minute, but I'm not too worried about it. But Willian, he made somewhat of an impact when he came on there, and just reading around some things today, I really like Schürrle and the stuff that he brings to the squad, but when it comes down to him and Willian as far as a better fit for our lineup, I feel that Willian is a better fit just because the way that Mourinho plays, his style, tactics, whatever, it's set up so that we can play defensively and go on the counter. And it's set up so that our defense is able to take a beating from the other team and we can still counter and score. And Willian just gives us that defensive stability out on the right.
Yeah, I think that's, Mourinho definitely sees it the way you see it. And one other thing about, I guess, the Schürrle-Willian combo, or the Schürrle-Willian comparison, rather, I think going forward, I do prefer Schürrle's ability to run in behind because Willian has a tendency to come in field and try to collect the ball and then look to create his, for others. And I think that when we have a team, not necessarily of City or, even Manchester's caliber, you have to kind of worry about who's going to provide that creativity and service. But when you're playing a weaker team, you don't need to necessarily play as defensively. And even in those games, I think Willian outshines Schürrle because his ability to go forward is far more diverse. He doesn't just go straight at it. He doesn't make runs in behind alone. He's able to work with the ball, play 1-2s. He's also very good technically and willing to, work hard physically to keep the ball, whereas Schürrle is I wouldn't say he's weaker, but I would say he's definitely a more of a flair player. So, and not flair, rather, more of a forward-thinking player. So I think that's just the difference between the two of them. Not to say that one of them is better than the other, but maybe a better fit for Chelsea is the better way to say it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to say it. And if I remember correctly, I think that last podcast, you and I were both in agreement that if we knew that Remy couldn't play, but if Costa wasn't fit to play, we preferred Schürrle to start up front. And I thought that Didier did a very fine job. I think just the thing that Schürrle brings that it would have been nice to play up front is just his ability to get in behind the defense without them particularly seeing him even get past them.
exactly. He's very good at that, running the line. So
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so our first goal came in the 52nd minute by Drogba. I mean, maybe it's a good thing he started. Some really questionable decision by Manchester United defending the corner kick. Me and my buddy, I doubt he's listening, but me and my buddy Adam were texting throughout the whole game. He's a Manchester United fan, and he texted me and he's like, "What's RVP doing guarding the post on that one?" And I didn't really get it either.
yeah, RVP on the post and Raphael on Drogba didn't make much sense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand quite the height difference, but I mean, you still if RVP couldn't get his head on that ball that Drogba headed in, then there was no one out there that was gonna keep it out of the net. So why wouldn't you just keep your taller guy guarding Drogba, knowing how much of a threat he is from corner kicks?
Yeah, and what I saw from most of the corners that we had, Fellaini, and even the set pieces we had, Fellaini was the one guarding Drogba. He was, stuck to him for the first couple, and then the first one where he wasn't, Raphael's guarding him, and Fellaini was guarding Matic, and it just so happens that Drogba, obviously he's going to win that header 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10 even. So I don't know why he would ever get stuck with Raphael, but I'm not complaining about it.
Yes. Yep. Exactly, and it's always fun seeing Drogba score, whether it's regardless of how he scores, who it's against. I mean, it was his second goal in 2 games, 2 straight games after his penalty kick against Maribor, and today actually, now that I think of it, he made it 3 goals in 3 games. So he's on a pretty good run of form considering his age and the things that he has going on in his career and whatnot. The game tire, it was written in the stars the whole time. Ivanovic clips Di Maria. Di Maria takes 3 or 4 steps and just goes to the ground like he did pretty much all game. And Ivanovic gets a yellow card, and it's that puts us down to 10 men, and that means that it opens up a guy for Manchester United in the box, and Fellaini, he was wide open, deflected it off of hit off Courtois, and Courtois didn't stand a chance. He's going to bury that from the 6-yard box every time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, people were saying, does it make that much of a difference that Ivanovic gets sent off right before it? I would say hell yes, it makes a difference. Chelsea have a very stingy back four. They know each other well. They work well together. Their marking had been spot on all game. They had combated these set pieces from Di Maria 3 times already in the game from different parts of the field. Every time it was either a Chelsea head or De Gea who got his hand. I mean, not De Gea. Courtois got a good fist to it. But on this occasion, Fellaini was being marked by Cahill, and Cahill was beaten to the header, and Zuma is backing away from the ball when it's trickling out to Van Persie, and he's got no chance. But this is a problem that we've needed to address. I think we've been getting beaten on set pieces pretty regularly this season, as much as we've been conceding away from home. So I think that's something that we need to take a look at, because despite the fact that we have a stingy defensive record, getting beaten on set pieces is a way to lose to teams who are of, lower caliber or less talent. So that's something we need to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of fans are pissed off because of, the substitutions Mourinho made, that, how defensive they were and what have you. But at the same time, you can't eat your cake and have it too. If you want Mourinho, you're going to get Mourinho's tactics. And that's what Mourinho does. Mourinho builds squads that are built to win 1-0 games. And this one, they just, it's unfortunate that Ivanovic got sent off. But, this is the way that the team's built. This team is built to win games 1-0, 2-1. They have the ability to shut it down. And, we've gone over this in the past. Mourinho plays for the result. He doesn't play, to make sure all the fans got their money's worth.
Exactly. But at the same time, when he made the substitution, he made it very early to bring in Mikel to shut the game down. Everyone knows when he brings in Mikel what his intentions are. He did that around the 68th, 70th minute, and that really sent the message to everybody on Chelsea. Oh, we're shutting down shop. Even though he made a couple more forays forward, it was really, protect the lead. And I'm not saying we weren't capable of doing that, because until, Phil Dowd handed them a free kick in the 94th, it was looking to be possible to be done. And I think that the mentality should have been to, keep pressing Manchester United, maybe make a positive substitution, maybe put another winger on, even though you're going to be defending a lot. Don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Make sure that they have to be honest on defense. So I'm not saying Mourinho didn't make the right call, because he normally does in those situations, and we do kill the game off, and I think we would have, if not for some questionable decisions. But I still would like to see us actually succeed at doing so.
Yeah, and I'm still, this may sound a little hypocritical, but my knee-jerk reaction after the game was that if the tactics work for 70 plus minutes or whatever, why change them for the last 20?
I mean, even if you want to change it for the last 10, like Mikel doesn't need to be coming on in the 71st. That's 20 minutes of either defending for your life or a relatively stagnant midfield, because Matic and Mikel is, it's not necessarily the most offensive, despite the fact that Matic is pretty good going forward and has pretty good vision, as he's shown. I think that maybe going to a inverted 4-3-3 and with the pinched in wingers would even have been a better idea, because we would have at least had an outlet. But I don't know, Schürrle, and just I feel like it wasn't the same kind of protection as we normally have. And even though we got beat on a silly set piece with a bad rebound, it was coming. I felt, as the final minutes were counting down.
Yeah, and I would agree with the John Obi Mikel thing. I mean, I know that it's Mourinho's thing to bring on Mikel around the 70th minute, but like you can't do it every game. You have to sort of adapt to who your opponent is and the game situation. And honestly, I didn't really think that the team was playing bad at the time necessarily or anything whenever Mikel was brought on.
No, I didn't. I'm not meaning to say that either. I hope that people aren't going to interpret it that way. I meant to say that it's not that we were playing poorly. I just thought that it was such a negative substitution for the team's flow. Like, it was it just signals to everybody in the team, okay, we're going to be playing in a certain fashion. And whether or not we, stop playing offensively or not, I think it's viewable in everybody's demeanor and all the decision making as well. Like, everybody knows we're trying to protect the lead. It's definitely something that he coaches. So I don't want to say that it's not a good quality, because normally we do shut it down and we can hold leads, but it kind of backfired in this situation.
Right. And to be fair, I didn't think you were implying that the team was playing bad or anything, but I totally hear where you're coming from, though, that it breaks up the flow and the way that the team's clicking at the time and everything. And just to round up the Manchester United goal, and to sort of transition into Phil Dowd's performance in this game, whether fair or unfair, whatever you want to see it as. I'm looking at a picture right now of when the foul was called, and this is the view that it was on beIN Sport on TV, that Phil Dowd wasn't even in the picture when he called the foul. So I don't understand how he could possibly give Ivanovic a yellow when he's not even there to call it. I don't know if you saw that, but
no, I've definitely I've looked at it, and I am looking at other essentially hot lowlights for Phil Dowd, but he was for the what should have been a penalty called for Ivanovic on Smalling, when he was literally headlocking him.
Yeah.
And folks, you should head over to 6 Second Savage. I just posted a pretty clear vine of it. It's pretty. Anyways, it's so blatant, and Dowd is hanging out on the corner of the 18, closer to the free kick than he is to the action in the box. And I think that BBC did a really, I think on Match of the Day, they did this pretty good comparison of him and Clattenburg. And I'm not trying to say Clattenburg's the best, but he correctly called a foul in favor of Wilfred Boney when he was getting roughed up by Shawcross in the Premier League game. And it was obvious, the ref was right there, perfectly placed to see it. He called it, gave the penalty. Where Dowd is standing on the corner of the box, he can't possibly see through all the massive bodies what's actually going on. There should be, either by the linesman on the far side or him himself, someone more close to the action. But it's not, something we can go back and do anything about. I just think that the FA would do well to just check the way the referees comport themselves during the game. There should be more accountability in my mind. But be that as it may, he did call a foul on Manchester United against Yanuzaj for fouling Ivanovic on their free kick. So I don't know if it was a makeup call, or I don't know if he was just inconsistent, but he was perfectly placed during their free kick. Like he was sitting right at the top of the box, and I just don't understand why he wouldn't have done so on the opposite side of the field.
Yeah. It's like you said. I mean, the positioning was it was horrible. I don't understand how you can. Well, I don't want to say I don't understand how you can miss something like that, because it happens all the time. But I would agree, though, that I think that they need to figure out, or perhaps look over where the referees need to be standing, whether it's below the goal line or byline, whatever you want to call it. Whether that's the best position for them or what. But I mean, maybe we'd be saying we'd be analyzing this differently if it went in Chelsea's favor. If Terry pulled someone down inside the box, but it's upsetting to see that something like that doesn't get called. And John Terry, with a little bit of wit on Twitter, with the hashtag JT and Eva got double headlocked from every corner. And I didn't go back and look. Was that when did you notice Ivanovic? He had a hole torn in his uniform on the sleeve. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if you saw it or not. I don't know if that was from that particular incident inside the box or what happened.
Oh, I'm not sure. I didn't see that. I didn't even notice that until
I noticed it late in the game, so I don't know if it was from a later challenge or what. And just going back through, I'm addicted to Reddit. I can't really help it, but I'm such a lurker on there, and it's just, I know that the mouth breathers of the internet go there to voice their opinions of whatever it is. But I like to sort of surf through match threads and stuff, and post-match threads on r/soccer. And people were, saying about how the Ivanovic thing was, with how many fouls he had, and he had a second yellow card coming to him because of all the fouls that he committed. But I went back and looked, and Ivanovic didn't, between his first yellow and his second yellow,
he didn't commit any fouls.
Yeah, he had no fouls in between there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to clear that myth, or whatever you want to call it. I just want to blow that out of the water and just say that that's not what it is. So yeah, I mean, I hate talking officiating because I know that you shouldn't put yourself in a situation where the referee can decide the game. But in this game in particular, the ref could have decided the game, and perhaps he did decide the game.
Yeah, I would say that he definitely had a heavy hand in it, and I don't like seeing that kind of officiating. He gave out 10 cards in total, 7 of which were given to Chelsea players, obviously 2 to Ivanovic. And I think that the majority of the cards on both teams he was just very, very easily persuaded to give the yellow, and that kind of forced his hand when it came to Ivanovic. Although that was not a cardable offense, and if you want to watch it from any angle, he does make contact, but he's not looking to foul him. His eyes are up. He stumbles. They both stumble. And then Di Maria goes down, and he takes advantage of it. But that's never an intentional foul, and that's never a yellow card offense. So I think that Dad had made his mind up. He was going to have some kind of impact in this game, and it's really just it's regrettable that refs can make that kind of impact and not be held accountable.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Okay, and to sort of round out the Manchester United game, going into this game, I'm not going to lie, I was almost, I don't want to say petrified, but I really wasn't looking forward to seeing Di Maria play against us just because of I saw how he played against the rest of the Premier League thus far, even though Manchester United hasn't really played one of the top teams yet. Um, and then I watched a decent amount of Real Madrid last year. I discovered beIN Sport on DirecTV, so I got to listen to some magisterial commentary by Ray Hudson and with some Real Madrid games and plus their Champions League run that they made last year. I watched a decent amount there. So Di Maria is just he's a world class player, honestly, but just something I noticed sort of between him and Hazard that I just want to throw out there. Basically, just take whatever you want. But just with the way that players play anymore, it after watching Di Maria play and all the theatrics and all the nonsense that that went on during the Manchester United game, it almost makes you appreciate Hazard and how he stays on his feet, and it's kind of a shame that that sometimes it seems like there's no, like, what's the point of even staying on your feet if you're going to dive and the referee's going to call it, and excuse me, I think that in this game there were instances you could even argue on Ivanovic's yellow card. You could say that Di Maria, a little bit of a dive, whatever.
I mean, come on. Players know that if they go down in a situation like that, they're going to get the foul. If they stay on their feet, they're likely not to get the foul. And it's bad that it's been taught, it's kind of been learned. Players realize that the ref is going to be more likely to blow the whistle if they continue going down than if they stay on their feet.
Right, and this isn't me saying that Di Maria clearly dove on the last play or anything. Was it deserving of a foul? Yeah, probably. You can see that Ivanovic clips his heel, and Di Maria takes a few steps, goes to the ground.
Essentially it was up to him, whether it was a foul, because he was up for a second, but then he was like, well, I can go down here and get a pretty good free kick. So.
Yeah, pretty much. So basically, what I'm getting at here, it isn't to say that Di Maria is a diver or anything like that. There were instances where he did it this game. There were instances in this game where Chelsea players did it. But it's just sort of just a little bit of appreciation for Eden Hazard and his ability to stay on his feet and use his balance, and it's just kind of good to see that there's players that aren't looking to go to the ground every time they get touched.
Yeah, there was the even the yellow that Ivanovic, the first yellow, I think it was like 65th minute. He put an arm on Di Maria and he does like a backflip, and Hazard, he knows that a player like him who's going to be usually beating players with his first or second touch, if he gets grabbed, he just stops. You notice that? If he gets, jerked back, because it happened to Fellaini when he got a yellow. He beat him on the sideline and just was going by him, and he just stopped when Fellaini grabbed him and turned him around. So he's aware as well. But I did like on the play that De Gea made that amazing save. Hazard could have gone down. There was a really reckless challenge by, I think it was, I want to say it was Smalling. The 1-2 he worked with Drogba, Smalling came at him with both feet off the ground, trying to get the ball. I remember what you're. He could have gone down, and you see him stumble for a second, but I guess he really wanted to score. And I guess the thing is, in a situation like that, you would most often see a player go down, clutch his leg, get the guy sent off, because that's a straight red right there.
Yeah.
If he goes down, it's a red, regardless. Maybe it wasn't in the box, but Dowd would be hard-pressed not to call that a scoring opportunity, or even the last man.
Yes.
I understand what you're saying. Some players would definitely have taken that opportunity, but I think that Hazard's his style of play is, he likes to stay on his feet. He rides challenges very well. He's got a low center of gravity. That's kind of his trademark. How many take-ons he has a game. It's kind of ridiculous. Successful take-ons, that is. And I just think that certain players have the mentality that they know how to win free kicks, but they also know how to not con the referee, but they know how to get free kicks that they may not normally be winning.
Yeah, yep. And just two thoughts that I have briefly that I just want to say, and then to round this up, and then I'll let you have the floor with whatever you want to say about it. The Hazard, before Drogba's goal, I wanted to complain on Twitter about Hazard's lack of ability to finish at times. I think it's something that Hazard needs to work on, and I think Hazard would really up his goal total if he would just work on his finishing, because he had that terrific run again that he got through some defenders, and he was 1-on-1 with De Gea, and he didn't necessarily shoot it right at him, but if it would have gone in, it wasn't necessarily going for the side netting. So I wish Hazard would start to work on his finishing a little bit, and I think it would just add another aspect to his style of play.
Yeah, I think if he was scoring more goals, he'd be mentioned more among the. I'm not trying to say that we should have one of these discussions, but he'd definitely be more mentioned among the top players in the world. And
yeah.
No discredit to De Gea, because that was a world-class save, but I don't know. I feel like he should be scoring goals like that. He should be putting them away, And if he does, his confidence goes up with every one. So
exactly, and like you said, it's not a discussion that we need to be having now. But I would agree, though, just because it's to compare Hazard to other players, you sort of have to dig for certain stats, like go to Squawka and look at successful take-ons and stuff like that, and you can really see the type of player that Hazard is.
Yeah.
And he doesn't show up on the goal sheet, and he gets his fair share of assists. I'll say that. Fabregas, he likes to steal them from him, but Hazard gets his fair share.
He's racking up his hockey assists.
Yeah, exactly.
The touch before the assist, and I think that's just as key. He may not be in the stat sheet and have his name in the headlines, but teams who play against him know his impact, and you can even see the way teams try to defend against him. They stagger three at times, and I think the respect is necessary, and he's definitely not the most outspoken or flair type player, but he definitely gets it done.
Yep, exactly. And the last thing I have here is just on De Gea. He's phenomenal. I mean, I've watched. This was probably I don't know, the fifth or sixth game that I've watched of Manchester United's, and De Gea is just fantastic. It's random and not related to Chelsea. I just wanted to say it, though.
I think
he's phenomenal.
If this had been a battle of goalkeepers, I think that it would have been a tie. They kept their teams in the match on both sides of the ball. I think that save on Hazard really set the tone and picked his teammates up. Even though Drogba scored right afterwards, that kind of play makes you, as a defender or even as a midfielder or a forward, you see your goalie do that and you're very pumped up. It's motivating. In the same vein, Courtois made some huge saves to deny Van Persie a couple times. That early back heel by Fellaini, he was very vocal in the box. He won a punch, he was catching everything. Stopped the Van Persie header that I thought would have beaten most keepers. That kind of a cheeky lob off of Di Maria service. He caught two of Di Maria's free kicks. And it was just commanding performance from both keepers. So I definitely respect to De Gea. He's getting better and better, and I do think it's kind of amazing that he and Courtois are only, I think, 22 and 23 or 21 and 23. It's outrageous. So future's bright for both them and Belgium and Spain.
Yes, yep, absolutely. And to wrap up the Manchester United game, do you have any closing thoughts?
I was interesting to play a Manchester United team without Wayne Rooney for the first time in a couple years. Seeing Van Persie get the start was normal, but I was interested that Januzaj got the start as well. I mean, I think they started 6 left-footed players once again. But Januzaj hasn't, he's been left in the dark for a while, and the fact that they played a 4-3-3 against us to try to spread us out as much as possible, even though both their wide players ended up cutting in on, either cutting in on their left or going straight down the line. It was kind of predictable. So I thought they were a little bit, I would say they were a little bit unorthodox, but I think that also helped them against us. And I think it was a good contest, contrary to some of the matches I've seen them play.
Yep, I would totally agree with that. Plus, it was good to see that Juan Mata finally got to play a position that he can actually thrive in.
Okay, I was hoping you'd mention this. What were your thoughts when you saw that Mata got the start? Were you thinking that he did that because he is it Van Gaal being like, oh, well, I have a player who knows the team and can get in their minds, knows how they play, and blah, blah, blah? Or do you think it was that Mata deserves to play in this position right now?
I think playing him as a central attacking midfielder, I think for everything that was going on with this particular game, with Wayne Rooney being suspended, I think it was correct to start Mata in that position, just because that's a position he thrives in. I know that he doesn't really get a ton of playing time there with United, but I feel that is his best position, just sitting just behind the strikers in the center of the field. Let's see, was it Herrera? Herrera didn't start, correct? Yeah, Fellaini started in place of Herrera.
Yeah, I think they were playing a 4-3-3 with Fellaini, Blind, and Mata in the middle, and then on the wings, Yanks, Di Maria, and up top, Van Persie.
Yeah. So Herrera's an interesting player. I think if he was going to do... I think for this game, Herrera was the only other person that could have started in Mata's place. And just looking at the lineup and bench here for United, they should be thankful that they're not in Champions League play this season, because their depth is astonishing. Astonishingly bad, that is.
Astonishingly lacking.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I mean, I guess you could say that they could have played Carrick in Mata's spot, but
yeah, he's just coming back from injury, and I feel like that would not have been the best position in a game as big as this.
Right, and I think that if it's interesting if Rooney wasn't suspended, I really don't know if Mata would have played, because I really think that they seemed Manchester United's last game was West Brom before us, and I watched that one. That was Monday Night Football, I believe, and Januzaj played on the he was lined up on the wing, but he drifted in throughout the game, but he thrived when he played on the wing. So I think that was their thinking, that they were going to play a 4-3-3 with inverted wingers or whatever.
Yeah.
In this one,
that's how it started.
Yeah, and I think that I think if Rooney wouldn't have been suspended, I don't think Mata would have. I don't think Mata would have started. I think that Mata's on his way out at Manchester United, and I think that it's whenever major news outlets get out there with word, and they just kind of run with it. Even though, I mean, we know that transfer season runs from July 1st to June 30th, but I think that Mata's on the way out. I think it was more of I think him playing at center attacking mid this game was more of Wayne Rooney being suspended, and not necessarily we're playing him because he knows you guys. Though that I see your point, though, that perhaps Van Gaal is trying to play a mind game of his own with his friend Mourinho. Which, just to touch base on that, I was starting to think I was watching a soap opera. The way NBC was playing out the Mourinho and Van Gaal narrative.
Oh, Josh Reeves before the game was getting in his face, in Van Gaal's face, asking him like, so you guys have a very special relationship.
Yeah.
And Van Gaal is starting to lose his. You could see he's starting to get pissed. This guy's all about competition, as is Mourinho. So having them, do a little love fest prior to the game, and then remarking on it every minute beforehand, during halftime, after the game. I think I'd rather see a contest. Just the contest and not all the drama behind it, but I know how big of a deal it is to more than just the fans. So,
right, and NBC they're going to paint whatever narrative they want to, and the fans are just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah, and I like the way NBC does it, but that's kind of their MO. They kind of pick a storyline and go with it. So it's good for the drama and the spectacle, but I feel like those people who are either A, serious fans, or B, just students of the game, they know how real it is on the field and how much that's not really in your mind. There's no friends until the game's over. So
Right, exactly. You didn't see, a halftime handshake of Van Gaal and Mourinho or any nonsense like that.
Exactly. So, I think that was a kind of a overdone point by the press, but at the same time, the game does have its history, as do the managers. So I'll give them that.
Absolutely. So, did you have anything just to wrap up the Man U game?
No, nothing besides. Just another game where we're conceding away from home, man. I'm getting sick of it. I know. That's probably my only qualm with this game, because I think we played with heart, and I think we played well away, and we would have got a good result had we not gotten, shaky at the back at the end of the game. But I really am unhappy with our inability to keep a clean sheet on the road. We haven't done it once this season, and we've played teams where we really should have.
Yes. Yep. And well, that's Premier League because Sporting.
Yeah.
'Cause Sporting.
No Premier League
clean
sheets away from home.
Yeah. It's kind of frustrating. Poor Courtois. He plays so good for 90 minutes.
Does everything he can.
Yeah, it just one defensive lapse at the end of the game. The Manchester United game, and then before that the Crystal Palace game. A little mishap there at the end that just threw off a shutout. But it's and just the last thing I have is that's 4 points dropped against United and City, 4 points that we should have had. It could come back to haunt us at the end of the season, but it's also it's good to see that out of the expected contenders, this is excluding Southampton and West Ham, which fair play to them, they've been fantastic this year, and thank you to Big Sam for stealing some points off City. But as of right now, the expected title contenders, aside from City, are closer to being relegated than they are closer to Chelsea at the top of the table.
Yeah, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man U, they're all closer to being at the bottom of the table than they are at the top, which is great news for us now. And I'd love to hear that same news in, say, March or April. But season is long, and as every manager seems to say in their post-match presser recently, it's early days.
Exactly, and we're not going to start polishing up the crown until well, not even polishing up the crown, but we aren't going to make any end of the season predictions until after Boxing Day at the very least.
Yeah, and as disappointed as I am with our conceding in every away match, I am happy we are still the only unbeaten team in the Prem.
Exactly. So moving on to today's game against Shrewsbury Town. It was at Shrewsbury Town, away from the bridge. This game was one that I didn't really get to watch a lot of. I caught about 10 minutes of it. So basically, I didn't find out until this morning that the game wasn't going to start until 3:45 Eastern Time instead of 2:45 Eastern Time because I guess Europe's still on daylight savings time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we haven't set our clocks back yet until Sunday. So I guess the next couple days. It's still 6 hours apart. Oh, God, that means this weekend's game is at 9 and not 10.
Oh, that is true.
Son of a bitch. Nonetheless. This game, I caught the goals. Amadi, he introduced me to an absolute gold mine that has, it seems like, streams of any game ever. If you're looking for your local Sunday League team... beer league game, it might be on this website.
Yeah, it is really fantastic. It's called Football Oregon. It looks like Origin. Do not make that mistake. I've done it plenty of times. Football Oregon. That's ORGIN.com, and it is your one-stop shop, or rather, one stop for all things football. If you want to watch a match, if you want to watch highlights, if you want to watch match of the day, it's literally all there. Spanish, English, what have you. So definitely head on over there, give it a check.
So I tried to said it was on beIN Sports Connect, which I have on my cable package. I sign in using my DirecTV login to beIN Sports Connect, and it says that I cannot connect to the game. So I spent about 15 minutes trying to find a stream, and finally found a stream. And by that time, it was about 4:15, and I had to, for work, in case you haven't heard, I'm a sports reporter for my local newspaper, and soccer playoffs are kicking off. Well, they kicked off on Friday here in Maryland, and I had to cover my former high school's game. If anyone from Mountain Ridge on the team or fans are listening to this, Minor Nation, hashtag I believe, beat Oakdale Friday. Nonetheless, basically, I caught the goals, and Amadi, thanks to this brilliant website, Goldmine, that he found, he was able to watch the entire game, well, pretty much the entire game. So I'm just going to just go over the lineup here, give some of my thoughts on the lineup, and then we'll go over goals. And Amadi will have the floor to say whatever he wants. So we had from going from the back forward, Czech in goal. Christensen, Zuma, Cahill, Felipe Luis across the back. Mikel, Ake, your boy, at defensive mids. Salah, Oscar, Sherlock as the attacking mids, and Drogba up front. Schwarzer, Terry, Matic, Baker, Willian, Hazard, Brown on the bench. My brief thoughts, honestly, I didn't even know that Schwarzer was still training with the team. Honestly, just didn't know, just with the way everything had gone this season. I haven't really heard anything about him, and honestly, until now, I retweeted the Chelsea tweets of the lineup and the bench, and I didn't even notice then that Courtois wasn't even in the squad.
Yeah.
So I'm just now noticing while I actually read through it, instead of being lazy like I was before. So yeah, now that I'm just reading through it, it's cool to know that Schwartzer's still on the team. I think with today's lineup, it was, in my opinion, the perfect balance of youngsters and first team experience guys, I guess I'll say.
Yeah.
Christensen, he's a center back, so he was sort of played out of position, or whatever. I thought he did pretty well. I thought he had a pretty good game. Zuma, I like to see that he started Zuma paired with Cahill this time, as he paired Zuma with Terry in the Maribor game. Was that it?
Yeah, I think he put. Was Christensen on the right back, or was he center?
No, he was. I'm pretty sure Christensen was on the right.
Okay, yeah. So Zuma was playing center back. I think he was playing. He was either switching up with Christensen or he was on the right for a bit because he kept drifting over there. I guess it's his tendency.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they very well could have just been switching on and off and whatnot.
Even so, I think he was just drifting over to. I think you're right that Christensen was on the right and that Zuma was playing right center back.
Yeah. And Luis at left back, Azpilicueta was. This was one of his his second of 3 games that'll be suspended for that red card offense against Palace. So. We'll just miss him for the QPR game, and then he will be back probably in the Maribor game. And then Mikel, not really too sure what to think about him playing at defensive mid for the. Well, I guess he played about 78 minutes. Nathan Ake, I wish I would have got to watch the game just for the sole purpose of seeing how he did. And then Salah. I saw something on Twitter. He must have missed a bunch of shots today. This is really top-notch podcasting by Kyle. Not watching the game and whatnot. But I saw something on Twitter that they said that they can see... how did it go? They know how Salah got out of the Egyptian military service because his shooting is terrible.
He had this really awful shot where he hit the ball... In his defense, the ball bounced up a little bit on him, and he kicked it. Literally, I think he kicked it out for a throw-in, but he kicked it straight up in the air, and he fell over. He actually lost his balance and ended up almost hurting himself.
So he hit it on the half volley.
He's tried to.
Okay, all right. Well, anytime someone tries to do that, I give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. So, other than that, I thought it was interesting that Drogba got his third start in 3 consecutive games. I know we don't have a ton of options at striker right now, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting that he got the run out at striker without exactly a recognized striker on the bench, I guess I could say. But I feel that the lineup, it was a good balance of youth, and especially the way that the game played out, that we took the 1-0 lead off of Drogba's 3rd goal in 3 games, off of a Fabra pass, and they equalized about a half hour later, and 2 minutes after the equalizer, Mourinho hadn't made any subs yet, so he brought on Matic and Willian for Salah and Mikel. So I thought that the way the team was set up with the guys on the bench, the guys in the lineup, it set us up well for either result, whether it was a close game as it played out to be, then he could bring on guys with experience and sort of, get the lead goal and hold on to the lead. Or if we would have been in a blowout, we could have thrown Izzy Brown out there and Baker out there.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much all that I have for this game. Just the floor is yours. Whatever you want to voice your opinion about,
all right.
Go right ahead.
So just a couple. I think that Azpilicueta's red was only necessary to be served in Premier League, so I think he could have played today. But I also think that Mourinho realizes this is an opportunity for Luis to really get his feet, and he knows that when Azpilicueta is available in the Premier League, he's going to be starting those games. So I think that this is good for Felipe Luis, so that Azpilicueta is not getting his run out, and that he is, especially in games that may not be of as importance. But he did just start the game against Manchester, so not that we had another option. But our first half was really sluggish, honestly. I think that we Schürrle and Salah are not the right combination unless it's in a completely transition game, because it's very hard to break a team down who are defending behind the ball with just those two on the wings. Equally on the defensive side, neither of them are very well known for their defending, and Mourinho must have known this, because I think it's why he started two holding midfielders with Ake and Mikel. But unfortunately, this really stifled our creativity going forward. So you could see as our attacks would just really break up, as they were getting to as I like to call it, the final third, because we were either going to pass across or balls like the ones that Salah really should have done better with when he was cutting in on his left. Those kind of possible attacking opportunities get squandered. So in the second half, Jose must have gotten into them in the halftime break, because we came out firing. We were pressing high from the whistle. Our possession game gave way, for the tighter wing game that you and I discussed in a couple podcasts ago. We were making quicker, incisive passing, making a lot of forays through the middle rather than down the side. And the first of these saw Oscar, I think he cut inside and beat his man, but his shot was deflected out for a corner. And the second of these, forays down the middle saw Schürrle find Salah via deflection, and that set up Drogba for what was really like a tap-in goal. But that was really Salah's only good contribution, was assisting Drogba for his goal. And then after that, I think we kind of messed up. We decided to go back into our defensive shell. The counterattack capabilities of Salah and Schürrle were really, really neutralized. We didn't really see much of the ball unless it was in defending and kicking out to our players. But we just seemed really sluggish, as I said before. Credit to Shrewsbury, though, because their midfield play was very impressive. Their link-up play was quick. It was purposeful. It was very positive. They weren't sitting back unless we had them penned in, obviously. So it was definitely a game that was there for the taking, because we weren't playing at our top of our game, and they were definitely up for it. And I'm impressed with the fact that Mourinho knew when to sub. 2 minutes following their goal, Mourinho removed Mikel for Matic, Salah for Willian, as you said. And 2 minutes following that, we retook the lead via Willian's deflected cross. And in the 86th minute, a couple minutes later, we made 18 straight passes, and the impact of Matic and Willian was so immediately evident. Granted, they were playing against a team who had just played for the last 80 minutes, but they were fresh. Their movement was intelligent. They obviously knew what was expected of them. On the downside, we struggled with set pieces yet again, as we were beaten really softly on a Shrewsbury corner, and indecision by Mikel on defense. The ball was able to drop in the 6 again, and there's no reason why the ball, I don't care if you're playing as a 12-year-old or playing as a professional player in the BPL, there is no reason why the ball should drop on or inside the 6, as it did at Old Trafford prior to Van Persie's equalizer, and as it did today for Shrewsbury's equalizer. And I'm aware this is a second string side, but Zuma, Luis, Cahill, Mikel, they should all be experienced enough to handle an opposition such as Shrewsbury Town. So there's no excuses for defensive lapses like that. Now, this is a second string side. I know Christensen, Zuma, but at the same time, there should be, Cahill's presence back there. Mikel's, just his experience alone he should know better than to do anything but clear that ball. And the moment he tries to trap it and he misses his trap, it's a gift for the Shrewsbury Town. And the Shrewsbury Town forward had just come on too, so it really just made us look like a defensively not solid team, which is what I think we are. So I'm happy we were able to bounce back, but it's one of those midweek games where we just didn't seem up for it. Maybe we're looking ahead to QPR. I doubt we are. Maybe we're just tired from Manchester United, but we could have done better. I think that Mourinho put out a good side, maybe a too defensive side, and that kind of came back to bite us.
Yeah, I would. I agree with a lot of that. Like you said, this was just it was pretty much wash, rinse, and repeat of what's happened this season. Concede on the road, concede a goal late. This one was late-ish on the road. 12 minutes left. That's pretty late in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say anything within the last third would be late. And it was off a set piece at that. And like you said, it's something we need to sort out. And like you said, you can't, regardless of what level you're playing at, whether it's beer league or professional Premier League, you can't let a ball bounce inside the 6. And that's even Czech, he's been around long enough that he knows that can happen. He needs it with everyone that's in the lineup, regardless of their past experience. A lot of them, like Christensen, Zuma, they play better than the time that they like. Christensen plays on the under-21 squad, but he's not necessarily an under-21 player. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He has the talent level that he could play in the Premier League, I think, at least. And same with Zuma. Zuma, he's on the bench and he gets a decent amount of playing time. But Zuma's talent level is one that he could be a starter in the Premier League for other teams. And it's just stuff like that. If those guys want to see more playing time in the future, and I mean, we're going to need those guys down the road if we're going to make deep runs in the Capital One Cup, FA Cup, and everything. We're going to need to use those guys again potentially, and it's not good to see defensive lapses like that happen.
I agree, and I think that, I mean, this might seem like a slight to some, but I think Courtois would have come for that ball. I think he would have claimed it. Czech's, in the past, he's been indecisive on set pieces and cross balls, and that was kind of towards the end of last season. That was something that was being said a lot about him, that he was not necessarily as commanding in the box as he used to be. And I think that kind of play there, he needs to be more vocal. I know it's in the perfect position. That ball was really well played, but I think Courtois has that presence in the box where our back line knows when he's coming, and he usually claims balls that are a little bit higher and a little bit more difficult to get than you would normally assume. But Czech has those capabilities as well, and that's one of the reasons that he was so good for us and has been so good for us. So I'm surprised that kind of a goal is just really too soft for experienced players to let happen.
Yeah, and the corner kick was weird because it was played. I mean, it wasn't played directly into the 6-yard box, but it was really high, lofted out towards the penalty kick spot. And it was
none of our guys come to meet. I don't understand, because I'm watching what you're watching probably right now, and it is lofted out towards the penalty spot, and 2 of their guys are there to meet it. I mean, if for one of them, then we weren't going to be second best to that ball either.
Yeah, and didn't the 2 of them collided? Correct.
Yeah, that's the only reason that it wasn't a better looking header, because their players ran into each other. I don't know how, but I think I can see that it was Christensen. It was Christensen and Mikel.
Yeah, because Mikel, he tried to play a thigh trap or thigh it out or something.
Yeah, he tried to play a thigh trap. When in the box, he just got to clear it. And I know it's coming at him fast, and I mean his only thought should be clear.
Yeah.
Even so, the defender the guy he's marking ends up getting picked up by Zuma and not really picked up at all, and he's the guy who gets the header. So I mean, those kind of lapses can happen. And one of the things that the guys on Match of the Day pointed out about Chelsea when they were playing at United with our first team was our defensive shape on set pieces was really excellent. I mean, that's not really the issue there. I think it's decisiveness in the box. I think that we're, I don't know what it is. Maybe it was just that we were just playing against weaker opposition, but our decision making needs to be better, especially when we're not playing our first team. I know those kind of lapses are going to happen, so I can't really be that upset with it since we won. But had we tied or had we gotten extra time and lost, these kind of mistakes would be glaring.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the last thing I have, I meant to say this during the Manchester United recap, but it's convenient that you bring it up about the Courtois thing, because I would agree. I think that Courtois really does a good job of making up his mind, and if he sees a ball that he thinks he can get to or knows he can get to, he goes out after it, and he doesn't think twice about it.
Yeah.
And when I was texting my buddy during the Manchester United game, I told him that, because he doesn't watch a ton of Chelsea, so just to sort of, give him a sneak peek of what to expect and everything, I told him that those lofted passes into the box that Di Maria likes to play, he's not really going to get away with those against Chelsea, because Courtois, he'll come out and he'll smother those all day.
Yeah.
And I think that was, with Courtois' height, I think that's a ball that Courtois easily could have, regardless of how far out from goal it was. I think it was one that it hung up in the air long enough that he could have gotten out there and gotten up above the two guys that went up for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that he would have claimed it. And obviously this isn't a slight on check, because he's still a world-class keeper, but that is the reason that Courtois starts. I think he's just, with his talent and his, just decisiveness, and, the way he came out on Van Persie that time, he's just got it right now. And I think that Mourinho knows that.
Yep, yeah. And even to go back to the Arsenal game, when he came out, I mean, granted he got injured on it, but that was a ball that, he saw it, and he saw that the ball was coming at the right pace, that he was going to be able to get to it, and he went out after it, and he knew that he was most likely going to collide with Sanchez, and he did.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the kind of that's the kind of keeper that Courtois is, and I think I think more times than not it plays it, well, not I think, but I know that it plays out more times than not for Chelsea.
Yeah, and I think that's going to help us lay down the road in the season. I think it's also one of the reasons that Atletico was able to win the league last year. So.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And to transition from the Shrewsbury game into what is ahead this Saturday, since as of recording this podcast, in the middle of the recording, I have found out that the game will be at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, November 1st. So that's going to be rough waking up to. I have to remember to set the alarm and whatnot, and get up an hour early, and not forget that we're 6 hours behind instead of 5, so I don't make the same mistake that I did today. So we have the QPR game Saturday. Maribor game we won't really touch on, just because it's still a good ways away. A lot of things can happen. It's when you're listening to this, it'll probably be Wednesday or Thursday. So the Maribor game's still a week ahead. So, but just sort of transition into the look ahead of the QPR game. Just something I heard after the game today. It was a quote from Mourinho. This isn't necessarily word for word, but what they put was, if players that played 90 minutes 2 days ago, referring to the Manchester United game, were fantastic, I expect people that have not been paying a lot to raise their level and create problems for me. So he's referring to the guys that played today. So those guys, since they haven't been playing a lot, he needs to raise their competitive level and create problems for Mourinho. And he goes on to say, I love problems of choice, but it's easy to choose my team for Saturday.
Exactly. I think that means he's going to pick the team that he usually picks, meaning Costa and Ramirez will be back. Not necessarily starting for the latter, but I think Costa will be in the starting lineup if he's fresh. I think Ramirez will definitely make the bench if he doesn't see 90 minutes. And I think that Mourinho will definitely be pleased to have ridden out this period without losing, without conceding very much. And I think this was definitely something that we needed, a test that we needed to take, really, to see how we would do without our two most fit and probably 2 first-choice strikers. And also missing someone who's been as good for us this season as Ramirez. So I think it'll be nice to have them back. It's just another part of our security blanket, which is definitely rather nice now. We have good depth. So it's good to have them back, and I think Mourinho is kind of alluding to the fact that he'll have a stronger, more fit team, or more of a normal team, if you will.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And yeah, I mean, Mourinho he goes on to say that that quote normally Diego Costa and Ramirez will be available for a game against QPR. I don't really know what normally means, but I would go ahead and assume that Costa will be ready. But then again, I sort of assumed that he was going to be good to go against Man U with the way everything played out leading up to that game. But that's whatever. But yeah, I think I would agree. It's most likely going to be the same lineup that we saw against Manchester United, with the exception of at least hoping that Costa will start up front. If not, we'll see Drogba. But Courtois in the back, and then same back four. I'd imagine that Ramirez would probably come off the bench if I had to guess, just because Matic he was one of the subs in the 78th minute, wasn't he?
Yes, he came in.
Okay.
He came in with Willian.
Okay, so yeah, I mean Fabregas hasn't played since the Man United game, and Matic played 12-ish minutes today plus stoppage time. So I would expect them to be the defensive mid starters, but I think Ramirez will get a run out if he's on the bench, just because it's been a while since he's played. So I think if we can throw him out there as our security blanket and just sort of give Obi Mikel a little bit of a break from that role, I think that would be nice, and it'd be nice if Costa's back, obviously.
Yeah, it would be very nice. I feel like Mourinho's going to want his strongest squad again. We need to make more of a statement in the Premier League. We've kind of not necessarily languished since we beat Arsenal, but the 2-1 win at Palace and the draw at United, it'd be nice to get a win at home, especially against another London rival.
Yes, yep, exactly. And I mean, we need to get the guys that haven't played in a while: Ramirez, Costa. Basically those two. But we sort of need to get them guys back into a good run of form, because we play against Liverpool the following Saturday, and that's our couple podcasts ago. We looked at the schedule ahead and how tough it was with all the Premier League opponents that we had with City, Arsenal, United, and Liverpool next Saturday. Plus, we had Everton even before that, and we don't play one of the quote big seven out of the expected title contenders, and we'll throw Spuds in the conversation just so they feel like they can be a part of something. We don't play anyone from the big seven until December 3rd, so it's sort of we need to get those guys in a good run of form. Just because the Liverpool game is going to be important, because again, it's a game on the road. And I mean, there's plenty of drama and storylines that that NBC will throw in with Gerrard slipping and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just basically just what I'm getting at is Costa and Ramirez need to play this game, and even the QPR game. Or no, excuse me, the Maribor game.
Yeah, I think they should play in both if they can. I mean, I think they should. Everybody who we can get fit in the quickest amount of time before Liverpool should be getting fit, because we have Schalke the weekend after. I'd like to see us put out a less than strong team against West Brom, even though I know Jose will probably want to make a statement since it's Premier League. But
yeah, go ahead.
So one thing I do like is that we're playing these teams on the road: United, City, Liverpool. We're going to be eventually seeing them at home, but I do like getting these out of the way, and also having them play on their minds for the next time we see them.
Exactly, and just to the Arsenal game was at home, but just looking way ahead, out of our last 7 games, there's 3 of those games against the quote Big Seven. We play Manchester United at home and Liverpool at home in that stretch of those 7 games, and then Arsenal on the road. So yeah, like that late in the season, it kind of sucks to play those teams that late in the season, but it's going to help that United and Liverpool are at home. So, and the City game even, we don't play them again until the end of January, so that will be at home. But, it's good to get these tough games on the road out of the way with now, because the Premier League is won in the second half.
Yeah, and I think it'd be great to have to be playing those teams and not have to worry about points.
Exactly. And the Liverpool game is the first, it's the last game before the next international break, and rumor has it that Costa has to have hamstring surgery. I don't know how confirmed that is. Well, I won't really firmly believe anything until Chelsea FC confirms it themselves. But
yeah.
If that's the case, they say that he can play through it. So if that's the case, I hope they let him play through it. And November 9th, he gets surgery the day after the Liverpool game. Because, basically just because I share the same sentiment that Mourinho does about Spain's national team, that I don't like seeing Costa play in the Spanish national team, knowing all of his hamstring problems that are going on and whatnot. And Mourinho sort of sent a message before the last international break by playing Costa the full 90 minutes, the 3 games before the international break. And I'm pretty sure Costa played the full 90 minutes in both of Spain's games during that break. So
yeah, they don't really care what he says, apparently. He and Del Bosque aren't seeing eye to eye, but I don't really...
Yeah.
Any manager, any national and club manager don't really... I mean, not any, but there are very few who I've been hearing about who are getting along. So I think that's just the way the scheduling goes. And Costa, if he gets a hamstring injury and he has the time to get the surgery and play through it, there'd be no better time than the international break. So
exactly. So I mean that's what's ahead. Do you have anything else just to wrap up the episode 5?
No, I think it's been good. We've had our ups and downs in the past week and a half, but we've remained unbeaten. We've ended up coming out with a relatively solid win today. I like how we showed heart, even though our second team was in, and we had to make the subs in the end of the game to save it. But I do think that Jose made the right call, resting the right players, and also giving a run out to those who needed it. Even though Salah didn't play that well, he needs the minutes, and Shirley as well. Not the best game from either of them, but they do need to be out there playing, and it's good that they got the 90. It's also good that we're playing away from home so often recently. It really does build up a team's togetherness to play on the road and win on the road. So
yes,
it's good to see that, and hopefully this team effort will come to fruition in the second half of the season.
Exactly. And I mean it's great to see that we still haven't lost yet. I refuse to make the comparison to this team to Arsenal's Invincibles just because
so silly.
It's so early on, and after New Year's, maybe during an international break we'll have the discussion if we're still unbeaten then, but until then we need to calm down a little bit about the Invincibles comparison. If you want to compare anyone, compare Chelsea's 04-05 team to Arsenal's Invincibles that we just lost the one game to City. If you want to make that comparison, go ahead. But this team, there's a long way to go. A lot can happen. So that's a wrap for episode 5. You can follow the podcast at carefreeblues_ on Twitter. That Twitter name is decided until at Carefree Blues becomes available, which I'm convinced will never happen. They've never tweeted. They have no followers. They're not following anyone, but have been on Twitter since 2009. So, and Twitter doesn't accept requests to have accounts deactivated. So, looks like we are SOL until karma does its work. So, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can find me at KBJelly and Everything Soccer on the Soccer Yanks website at socceryanks.com, and Everything Carefree Blues at socceryanks.com/Carefree Blues. Amadi, tell the fine people, the fine listeners of the podcast, where they can find you.
You guys can find me at Amadoit on Twitter. That's AMADOIT. You can find me on Vine at 6 Second Savage and on Twitter at 6 Second Savage. My writings are also on the internet. If you have any experience on the intranets, you can find me at worldsoccertalk.com. I'm also writing for Chelsea Index, which is a Chelsea-specific site. You should definitely check their stuff out. Reference them a lot on the podcast. And obviously, you can find me as one half of Carefree Blues Pod.
Yep, so all great stuff on that front. We want to thank you for listening. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to rate and review on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, Soccer Yanks. If you're interested in just looking at other stuff besides Chelsea stuff, if you want a little bit of a break from Chelsea stuff, check out Omni's writing. Check out the stuff that we do at Soccer Yanks. So, stay carefree wherever you may be. We are out.